welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be challenging myself. There has been this trend going around the beauty community, both on YouTube and on Instagram, where people are turning themselves into Bratz dolls. Now there are two different ways that I've seen people doing this challenge. One is where they actually make themselves look like the literal doll, where they overdraw their eyes, overdraw their lips, really like put on a wig, go all out to look exactly like the doll. And the second is adapting the doll's look to a more realistic and wearable look. The route that I'm going to take in this video is the second one, where I turned it into a more realistic thing. I think it would be cool to try to challenge myself to see if I can naturally make my eyes look bigger, or if I can figure out a way to make my lips look a little bit more like those unrealistic, plump, perfect Bratz doll lips. This is the picture that I'm going to be using for inspiration. I decided that since it's officially February, it's time to start throwing out that Valentine's Day content, and I would give you guys kind of something that you can maybe use on Valentine's Day. I'm going to be doing my full makeup, my full hair, all of that, so if you guys want to see if I can succeed at turning myself into a realistic doll, then just keep on watching. The first thing that I want to work on is my eyebrows, just in case I completely fuck them up and need to start over. In this picture, it does look like she has a little bit more of a modern Instagram fade brow, so that's what I'm gonna go for. But something else that I noticed is that they are a little purpley pink. So my plan of action right now is to fill in my eyebrows and carve them out like I normally would using my Anastasia dip brow and an angled brush. And then once I have that shape down that I want, I think I'm gonna go in with a little bit of a purpley pink eyeshadow and just pull some of that color into my brow, maybe. We'll see, we'll see. I'm gonna follow basically the natural shape of my brow, but I am gonna fill them in pretty dark, and I'm gonna try to keep this tail as short as possible. Bratz dolls tend to have a shorter tail that points a little bit more upwards, so I'm gonna try to create that without going too cartoonish with it. I'm doing that by pulling my arch out a little bit farther than I normally would, so that the tail looks shorter without actually being shorter. Alright, we're good as far as shape. Now I'm going to try to add in a little bit of that color. Her brows are a little more purpley than pink, so I think I'm going to go in with this kind of plum shade here and hope that I don't completely destroy my brows. It's just going to give me a slight hint of color over my brows. I can't tell if the camera's picking this up because I'm slightly blind, but if you guys want to see how intense this actually is, you can head on over to my Instagram at soap.beautyby and see the pictures that I took from this look. Cool. Now I'm just going to carve this out with some concealer and another flat brush, and then we can move on to the actual eyeshadow. I'm actually going to use Shape Tape to set my lid because I want it to be a wet base, and I feel like this is going to help things stick a lot. In the picture, the Bratz doll looks like she has a cut crease going on with some purples and pinks, but the purple in her crease is really intense. So I think what I'm going to do first is go over this wet base with this deep purple from James Charles. I'm gonna pack this all over my lid and bring it up just above my crease, so when I cut my crease, you can still see the purple intensely. I'm gonna take a really fluffy brush now, and I'm gonna take a little bit of a lighter purple. I'm gonna go into the one right next to that really deep purple, which is a little bit more pinkish, and I'm gonna start blending out that top line. This is gonna take a while, and this is gonna be one of those looks that definitely looks absolutely insane until it's done. I'm gonna keep going back and forth between these two purples until I have this perfectly blended. I think this is where I want to leave it as far as that crease area goes. I want to focus now on the brow bone. I want to make sure my brows look really high and lifted, so I'm gonna go in with some pure white on a tiny little brush here, and I'm gonna make sure this outer edge is kind of cleared of any intense shadow. I'm gonna pick up a little bit of pure white from James's palette, and then I'm gonna go over that with a little bit more of this purple just to kind of like blend them together. Okay, I'm gonna move on to cutting the crease now. I'm nervous about this. I'm gonna use the tape shape again. This time I'm gonna put it on the back of my hand and then take a flat brush and kind of cut where I want on the eyelid. This is where making my eyes look bigger naturally comes in. I'm gonna pull this concealer all the way in past my tear duct to like the side of my nose to start to widen my eyes a bit. On my lid, I'm gonna take this single shadow from Morphe, and I'm just gonna take my finger and pack this over the wet concealer before it dries. Now we're gonna try to blend this in using the same brush that we used to pack that dark purple on, and I'm just gonna take whatever is left over on it and smudge that outer line. This pink is a little bit darker than I want it to be, so I'm gonna pick up a kind of peachy shade from the James Charles palette, and I'm gonna put this over top of that pink to tone it down a little bit. Okay, cool. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other eye, and then I will be right back. Alright, now I want to move on to eyeliner. Bratz always have a very big, thick black wing, so that's what we're gonna do. But in an attempt to make our eyes look a little bit bigger, we're gonna carry the black line in a little bit further past our natural eye and out a little bit further on this end as well. That's gonna connect to the bottom lash line, which we are gonna draw out with some white. As always, I'm gonna lay some tape down before doing the flick end of my winged liner. I'm gonna set this tape down a little bit lower than I normally would so that I'm connecting out at a farther point past my eye. When I'm drawing this outside wing, I'm gonna leave a space along my bottom lash line and start the bottom of it where my top lid would end if it was extended out to the tape. I don't know if this makes sense. None of you are actually gonna follow this anyway, so like, what's the difference? Just watch and enjoy. Okay, that's all mapped out, but now I wanna make my eyes look a little bit bigger by adding white to my lower lash line. I'm just gonna take some white brow pomade from Kat Von D and a very, very tiny, dense brush and see what happens. I don't even know if this is gonna work. I'm gonna fill in that little gap area we left with the eyeliner with white, and I'm gonna taper it in as I get closer to the inside of my eye. Now I'm gonna use a white eyeliner pencil to line my waterline. This Bratz doll does have a little bit of a liner on the lower lash line. Hers comes all the way in to meet the inner corner of her eye. I personally am not the biggest fan of that, so instead I'm just gonna do it maybe 3/4 of the way in. We're leaving the eyes there for now. Off camera, I just primed my face and put on some foundation and concealer. Now I want to move on to contouring. Bratz dolls don't really have very noticeable contouring, if any at all, but they do have a very distinct face shape. So I'm gonna take a cream contour and I'm gonna try to kind of block out those pieces that I think stick out too much and make my face look a lot more heart-shaped. So I'm gonna start off by my chin. I'm gonna put a lot of contouring down here just to kind of suck me in this way. I'm also gonna do my normal contouring on my cheekbones, a little bit around my forehead just to kind of shrink it down a bit. And then for my nose, we're gonna do that separately because that's a whole nother battle. Bratz dolls have very tiny pointy noses. I do not. So we're gonna do our best. I'm gonna try to apply as much, I don't even know where to go from here. I'm really gonna put this all over here to kind of make this look a little bit more sunken in. And I'm gonna keep it a skinny little line until we get down here to the nose. I'm gonna keep the tip pretty large, but I'm gonna cut it off and make it seem a little bit shorter. Right now I look like a fucking mess, but I'm gonna contrast all of that with some powder. really have no idea how that's gonna turn out, but I'm gonna let that sit while I finish up the rest of my under eyes. In the picture, everything's pretty simple. She just has a little bit of that purple carried down under her eyeliner. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take a very small flat brush, and I actually think I'm gonna take the middle tone that we used, and I'm just gonna start lining underneath that black liner. I'm gonna do the same thing with that darker purple just underneath that. We're gonna need some lashes for this look without a doubt, so I'm gonna use some iconic lights from House of Lashes. I'm going to cut them to sides and glue them on where I normally would, maybe set out a little bit farther to make my eyes look wider, and then we'll be back to wipe all of this away and finish up the face. The lashes are on. I basically just laid them where I normally would with the inner part of my eye and didn't trim off the excess on the end. So they laid a little bit farther out than they normally would. Now we can finish up the face, which should be pretty simple. I'm gonna wipe away this fake, and then I'm gonna go in with some contouring powders, I think, just to kind of intensify all of this. I'm gonna use a very, very mild contouring powder. This is the Butter Bronzer from Physicians Formula. I'm just gonna lightly go over all of my natural contours, and then I'm gonna darken up that little bit down here just to make sure my jaw looks a little bit pointier and more sunken in. I'm not gonna really bronze here because it seems like she has a lot of blush on, and I'm gonna let that do the work instead. The blush that she has on in the picture is definitely a deeper red. I think I'm gonna take this one and this one right here and mix them together to get the shade I want. Oh no, I lied. I'm gonna take this color and I'm gonna mix them together to get that kind of dusty deep shade. I'm gonna lay it on pretty heavily, especially on the apples of my cheeks. And then I'm also gonna take this a little bit up the sides of my nose and a little bit on my forehead as well. Instead of doing those little white freckles, I'm gonna go in with a white highlighter. I'm gonna be using this shade, which is Pillow Talk from Ofra, and I'm gonna take it on a bit of a bigger brush so it spreads a little bit around my cheeks. I'm gonna take a smaller brush and concentrate this in the center of my nose to make it look really tiny. Also, right here on the tip and on my fake inner corner here. I'm also gonna put a little bit right on the outer part of my brow bone. Now that the powders are done on my face, I'm gonna coat my bottom lashes using a pretty chunky mascara. They're drawn onto the Bratz doll, so obviously they're gonna be like little spikes, but because we're trying to make this look a little bit more natural, I'm gonna use a chunky mascara. Now this is the hard part for me, the lips. Bratz dolls have insanely huge, plump, little round lips. I do not. So I want to make my lips look a little bit bigger but still realistic. Bratz always have a little bit of a darker lip liner, so I'm going to start out with this one in Mauve from NYX, and then I'm going to fill my lips in with Bad Habit from ColourPop and go over the center of it with Androgyny from Jeffree Star. Thinking I need a little bit more nude, so I'm gonna go over that with Bel Air from Ofra. Okay, now I have to finish off my hair. In the picture, she has some clips in it, kind of like these little weird hairdresser clips, but I also have some bronze bobby pins and some of these like weird triangle clips on here. So I'm gonna play around with this off camera and I'll be back with the final look. Alright guys, so this is the final look. This was very fucking weird to do, and I feel anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give me a big thumbs up and hit that big red subscribe button before you leave to stay up to date with when I post new videos every week. Let me know down in the comments how you guys think I did, how close you think I came to the actual Bratz picture. If you guys want to see some more in-depth pictures of this look, head over to my Instagram at soap.beautyby. But that's all I have for you guys today, so until next time, bye guys!